Hey there, how have you been doing this week? From my side, not really much, except for this one thing that I have discovered that I can do. Watch out. I will tell you how you can make that sound in just a few minutes only using Serum. So let's go! Alright, so of course the next step will be to create a new session, but we will start this time with an audio track. We will use this one to record our source material, which will be our own wind blowing. Couple of things to make sure about. Make sure that you record around 10 seconds of it. Steady pitch, do not vary too much, and get close to the microphone, but not too much, otherwise you will get undesired noise. Great, now we have to edit and export our waveform. So first of all, we will trim it. I will save it to the desktop and we'll call it wind sample 1. Fantastic. Now we can get rid of this track and create a software instrument track, to which we will, of course, add one instance of our beloved Serum. We will deactivate oscillator A because we don't need it for anything, and we will activate the noise module, to which we will load the sample we have just created. You can just drag and drop and it will work just fine. Very low. Let's crank up the volume. Here it is. Let's activate pitch tracking. Let's crank up the master as well because we need to hear what we're doing, and let's start adding some effects. First of all, some reverb. Big size, big decay. Secondly, some delay. Let's configure the feedback at around 45%. Deactivate BPM sync, activate link, and make it the longest delay possible. Make sure that you cut low frequencies and leave the mix at around 40%. Now let's distort all of this with our favorite tube algorithm and make sure that you set the drive to around 75%. That's where we want it. Mix can be left at 100%. Now it's time for EQing. Let's get rid of some low frequencies because there will be some build-up there. So bring the gain down, frequency a little bit there, and let's recover some of the low mid frequencies that we will lose with this, with some very low Q boost around 300 Hertz. Let's check it. It's getting where we want it to be. We just need to do some more things. We have to first check the attack curve that we have and the release, because otherwise everything will sound too artificial. So make sure you have something like this. And last but not least, let's pan this to 9 o'clock, so to speak, to the left. Great, let's rename our track to, you have guessed, Wind L, and duplicate it. But in this case, we will call our second track Wind R. And of course, what we will do is to open Serum in Wind R. Let's change the pan to around 3 o'clock. And let's do some very small adjustments in some random parameters of different effects, so we have a slightly different sound. One more thing that I forgot to mention, we need to filter also high frequencies in both of these instances of Serum because this will build up. So let's add a filter at the end of each chain, and let's make sure that we adjust the cutoff to the maximum. That should do the trick. Let's duplicate Wind R track and let's call it Wind Center. Let's move our tracks a bit. And in the case of Wind Center, let's open Serum. Let's make sure that we have our pan centered, of course, and let's make some changes in the effects. First of all, we will modify the cutoff frequency of the filter and we will move it to 300 Hertz because we don't want too many high frequencies in this case. We will leave the gain in the low shelf to 0. because we don't want actually to get rid of any low frequencies. And let's make a cut of high frequencies around 1.5K of minus 22 dB. Great, let's check our sound now. This is the sound that we will be using as a background. And now it's time to record left, right, and center so we can layer up those sounds and make our own blizzard. For this, you could actually record all 3 tracks separately, but this can be a little boring, so I will show you a quick trick that you can use if you don't want to record everything. Around C3, we will record 2 notes at a time, switching very slowly, and try to switch to adjacent notes. We will record around 30 seconds, because then we will duplicate. And this should be more than enough to create the base of our blizzard. Great. Now let's edit this that we have created. Let's make sure we don't have any interruptions in the sound, and let's just loop these 30 seconds. Looping 30 seconds will be around 1 minute, so let's leave it there. Great. Now let's duplicate this region to Wind R. Let's get rid of the loop, and let's use FlexiTime to stretch this whole performance to around 1 minute. Finally, let's record Wind Center, and let's record in the low notes because that will give us our background, and it has to be definitely darker and deeper. In this case, I believe around 20 seconds should do the trick. Same rules, we play 2 notes all the time, switching carefully between one and an adjacent one. That should be enough. Of course, we will edit again the same way, and then we will loop it 3 times. Fantastic. Now we have around 1 minute of a unique blizzard that you can loop as many times as you want, because 1 minute is long enough so that you would not notice any repetitions in the case that this sound was used in any movies or video games. Let's check how it sounds. Great. Now the next step is to go to your browser, navigate to YouTube, and make sure that you click on subscribe to my channel. Now it's time for you to be creative. Go there and adjust this to your needs. Maybe you need some different kind of filtering. Maybe you would like to make it stronger and crank up the distortion a little bit more. Maybe you would like to have a very subtle background wind noise, so you can adjust the levels to this. Or instead, maybe you would like to have the sound coming more from one of the sides because the scene that you are putting sound to requires it. It is really up to you. Just go there, experiment, and try different things until you find the one that really works for your needs. Congratulations then, you have now unlocked a new power, you have become child of Aeolus, and now you have the power of the wind and the blizzard in your hands. And that was basically it. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you have learned something. And by the way, I would like to ask you something. What type of sound should I be trying to replicate next? Let me know in the comments and I will try my best. In any case, that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching and see you next week.